What I love about that fight is when you have a young guy who's up and coming and looks good, even if there are little bumps along the way, and it feels like it is his destiny to do something.
What we all have to realize is what Jake is trying to compare himself to, or at least draw a comparison with, and his skills are not the reality of his skills, at least not that we've seen. So even if Jake is right about what you can do to mitigate what AJ does well, I don't think that he's right that he's the one that can do that.
Of course, he's gonna defeat you, but I don't believe he can land those punches. And he lands them on the bigger, slower guys who are sitting right in front of him. Everyone's like, did you see Francis Ngannou, what he did to Francis Ngannou? It's like the guy's feet stuck in mud.
Max Kellerman predicts that the fight between Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua will deliver plenty of drama and excitement. He explains that Jake is entering this fight with a strong drive to prove himself and demonstrate that he is serious about boxing. On the other hand, Anthony Joshua has already established his legacy and doesn't have anything left to prove. Because of these very different motivations, Max believes the fight is unpredictable, and on fight night, anything could happen.
Skills are better than AJ. And I just don't know where the evidence of that is. Like, I understand Jake is confident in himself, but point to me a fight where Jake showed better skill. I don't see it. And again, Jake is always telling us how he never gets to show the skills. He never gets to show the skills. He just went through a full fight with Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., and nothing in that fight made me go, wow, he's more skillful than Anthony Joshua. Even when you go back and look at the Anthony Joshua and Alexander Usyk 2 fight, AJ showed more skill in that fight than he had in a loss. I understand that, but then he had in a lot of his other heavyweight fights. That showed evolution. That showed him dedicated to the sweet science. So again, Jake's talking out of his ass here, at least from what we've seen. If he's gotten into camp and after the Mike Tyson fight and after the Chavez Jr. fight and he's turned into a different beast, then we'll see that. But nothing in his previous repertoire of fights shows me that he's better skill for skill than Anthony Joshua. Not even better, size, whatever, but skill for skill. I haven't seen anything that's much different than AJ. He calls AJ a basic fighter. I haven't seen Jake do anything but the basics, like catch counters, combination punches at times, but he still sticks with the basics, and he gets by on his power and his size. It's almost like Jake is saying the things that people say about him.
Well, it sounds like he's happy that you're coming in 245. I also was going to bring that up, but we'll talk about it now, that you said you didn't believe he had a bunch of skills and that you would kick his ass, and that this was a fight that you basically wanted. Not recently, you've been saying it for a minute. What about his skills tells you that you're a better skill fighter than him?
Good question, Cam.
Yeah, he's
a fucking Olympic gold medalist, dog.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, he's been doing it for a long time, and he's great. And if you get caught with that one punch, or, obviously he has a lot of power punches. If you get caught, of course, he's gonna defeat you, but I don't believe he can land those punches. And he lands them on the bigger, slower guys who are sitting right in front of him. Everyone's like, did you see Francis Ngannou, what he did to Francis Ngannou? It's like the guy's feet stuck in mud. He's just sitting there, didn't do anything, and just got fucking nailed with a big-ass shot. So, yeah, if I get hit with that shot, I'm screwed, but I don't believe he's going to hit me with those shots.
It's, in theory, a good idea to do what Jake is saying, but in practice, it's completely different than what Jake thinks. Like, again, it's only 8 rounds, so I don't think that Jake is going to completely gas, but him being on his feet and moving versus a guy like Nate Diaz or a guy like Tommy Fury, who both did pressure him and did, and even Anderson Silva pressured him and made him, get on his bike a little bit. That's different than the pressure and the weight and the size of Anthony Joshua bearing down on you for 8 rounds, because Joshua's going to take forward steps the entire fight. He's going to pressure what he is, what he's done to Usyk. And if you did want to make a comparison there, obviously what AJ did to Francis is not going to be the same here, because Francis wanted to engage in that back and forth. Francis is also a big-time power puncher, just didn't have the skills to keep up. But you look at what AJ did, and it was a very timid fight, I will say, in the Ruiz second fight, but he won that fight exclusively with his jab. If AJ wants to win this fight with his jab, he could. Jake is
Max continues by saying that if Jake Paul truly wants to be recognized as a serious boxer, defeating Anthony Joshua is essential. He sees this as the moment when Jake has to show that his ambitions in the sport are genuine. Max points out that Jake is clearly determined to build a lasting future in boxing and demonstrates real passion for it. According to him, this fight represents the ultimate test of Jake's commitment and dedication to the sport.
I actually think that when AJ's been heavier, he's been easier to hit. So if the AJ that fought Andy Ruiz the second time around goes in there and gets in against Jake Paul, it's going to be a long night for Jake Paul. And by the way, around 245 pounds, he went the distance twice with Alexander Usyk in relatively close fights. He chinned Pulev, beat Ruiz, chinned Povetkin, chinned Brazil, chinned Martin, chinned Dillian White. In fact, he chinned more or less fucking everyone in and around that way, all the way up until he fought Joseph Parker. Yeah, having AJ at 245 pounds serves Jake no purpose. There's no advantage to be gained there whatsoever.
We got
As you should. You definitely
strength,
needed to change coaches.
And we got skills as well.
You definitely needed to change coaches, so I'm glad.
Now, this is the first time that I'm starting to try and analyse Jake Paul here, but for me, I kind of think it's pointless. Like, I fight, and I understand that I'm not fighting anywhere near the scale of Jake Paul. I'm nowhere near the size of Jake Paul. But Jake Paul going in with AJ would be like me going in with a world-level light heavyweight or something like that. And if I was sat across the room from them and having to tell them how I'd beat them, I'd probably be terrified too. But assuming he's not, and we actually just judge his body language, you can see that in this clip of him, he doesn't look that comfortable. He's not really making eye contact with Anthony Joshua, at least not after he says what he's got to say. And does this show that he isn't as confident in the words that he's speaking? Who knows? All I will say is, if you look at this moment where he's actually talking to AJ about their fight, and then you compare it to this next clip where they're having a conversation about something they did together outside of boxing, I think you'll probably see a big difference.
We got
As you should. You definitely.
Max Kellerman emphasizes that Anthony Joshua has earned full respect for everything he has accomplished in boxing. However, he notes that Jake's youth could be an advantage. Because of this, Max believes Joshua cannot take anything for granted. AJ must bring his full strength, energy, and focus to the ring. To secure a victory, Joshua has to be the absolute best version of himself on fight night.
Some problems, we're like, what are we doing? Like, let's understand what we're talking about here. We're talking about Anthony Joshua. And I know some people like to shit on AJ, like he's done, he's chinny. We're still talking about a 255 pound, by the time fight night rolls around, heavyweight with destructive power, who's not done, who's not chinny. Yes, he got hit by Dubois and got knocked down. I mean, Dubois could knock down a lot of heavyweights. For me, AJ is still, when his mind's right, a top 10 heavyweight. Against, in Jake Paul, someone that I would say, I mean, he's looked good in those clips, right? I'll give him that. He looks good on the heavy bag as well. I'll give him that. But I've seen area level guys fucking tear up heavy bags. You know what I mean? I've seen guys that are 2-0 fucking look great on heavy bags. So I'm not fooled by many with that clip. Although I will say Jake does look really good, especially when you consider where Jake's come from. But Jake, I don't even know if Jake's an area level fighter. And if he were, he would be an area level cruiserweight, which again, I don't know if he's that. I don't think he is. Personally, I don't think he is that. Against a former two-time unified heavyweight champion of the world who just fought for the IBF heavyweight title. No. The narrative won't be spun with me. I said when this fight was made that AJ, in fact, I have kind of given Jake a bit more respect. I think when this fight was first announced, I said,
Max also observes that in some of Anthony Joshua's previous fights, he hasn't performed at his very best. This makes it even more critical that Joshua is at his absolute peak for this fight. As a heavyweight, AJ needs to display more power, authority, and precision in the ring. Given that he hasn't been very active recently, Max believes a top-level performance is crucial to maintain his dominance.
I'm going to be the one laughing when I fuck your whole world up. And as much as people can say that's absolute lunacy, I think Jake understands that the only way he can have a prayer of doing anything good in this fight, even whether winning is even beyond the realms of possibility, to just even look good, there needs to be mental strength coming in here. If he is afraid and he is acting scared in any way, and Anthony Joshua smells that. There's a reason he's got a fucking lion tattooed on him, Anthony Joshua. He is a predator. He can't show any weakness whatsoever if he wants to even have any good performance here. So I give him credit for some mental strength, and look, I give him credit for showing the balls to sign on the dotted line, even if he is getting paid a shitload. He already had a shitload of money. This is a very dangerous fucking situation he's putting himself in.
When you watch Jake Paul, what do you see as far as a box is concerned? And do you think that you're in any danger whatsoever?
I see someone who is trying to perfect his skills, someone who is trying to perfect his boxing skills. So in boxing, you have fighters that box at long distance, mid distance, short range, some fighters that brawl, some fighters that walk forward like Pitbull, that come forward with their hands up. Jake's trying to become a boxer, and I respect it. I think that's probably one of the hardest styles to perfect.
Right.
You know, hit, be slick, not get hit, look for that knockout punch. And he's taking the hard road doing it that way, because most people will go into a gym and just try fight. But Jake's taking that road to try and be a good boxer, and I respect it. Now he's gonna come up against someone who took that road as well when I first went in the gym, tried to perfect my boxing skills, and still standing on that today.
Right.
So I'm maybe 17, 18 years as a fighter now that's been trying to perfect my boxing skills. So he's gonna come against someone who's been doing exactly what he's doing for a lot longer.
Let's just deep that. What are you, 5 years into your journey? I'm 18 years into this journey, and by the way, I'm bigger than you. I'm stronger than you. And I think Anthony Joshua is being quite polite there in not disrespecting his opponent and trying to show him like, okay, I don't want to say that you're shit or anything, but I'm levels up the ladder, man. I've done all the things that you're doing now, and I did them over a decade ago. In fact, a decade ago, he was fighting for professional titles. And that 18 years experience should make it very easy when you consider the type of matchups Anthony Joshua has been in, trying to figure out Alexander Usyk. It should make it so simple for him. When he watches Jake Paul, he should say,
Analyst Wade breaks down the fight by noting that Anthony Joshua carrying 260 pounds for a knockout is remarkable, highlighting just how much raw power AJ has. Wade is also surprised by Jake Paul claiming he is more skilled than Joshua. While Jake shows confidence, Wade points out that his previous fights don't fully support that claim. Against Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., Jake looked sharp at times but never demonstrated the level of technique or evolution that AJ has shown over his career. Wade stresses that Joshua's experience, footwork, and ring IQ place him on a completely different level, meaning that Jake's basic skills alone will not be enough to match him.
I'm not sure, because my hope is Joshua walks across, hits him a couple of times, he goes over, he gets up at the count of 10, they wave it off. Boxing's reputation is intact, Jake Paul is okay, they all make loads of money, and we move on to probably the next ridiculous thing that'll happen soon.
What about from Anthony Joshua's point of view? He takes this fight, he probably has a warm-up fight, he fights Tyson Fury, who knows? If he loses the Tyson Fury fight, that could be it for him. So this could be the last memorable thing he does in what has been a very, very good career. So what about his legacy, if you like? Does that matter?
He had a great career. Olympic gold medal, 2-time world champion, beat some great fighters. You know, he lost to some great fighters as well. So I would remember him as one of the best British heavyweights we've had. I don't think he's as good as Lennox Lewis, but he ain't too far off. I think in 20 years' time we'll remember him more fondly. I think we'll always remember them that have gone before us more fondly. So he's won the heavyweight title twice. He won the Olympic gold medal, and I think more than that, he put British boxing on his back and he carried it to another level completely. You know, I wouldn't be sat here without him. He took us out of. And when I started watching boxing, there was all in like leisure centres. I remember watching boxing as a kid on Sky. There was in leisure centres like Robin Park in Wigan, or Donny Dome, or Ponds Forge. Anthony Joshua and Matchroom Boxing, they took us to the...
Joey Knight analyzes matchups by focusing on experience, technical skills, and ring intelligence rather than hype. In the case of Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul, Knight points out that AJ, weighing around 245 pounds, is a formidable opponent. He recalls Joshua's victories over top heavyweight fighters and emphasizes that Jake gains no real advantage at that weight. Knight also highlights the importance of proper coaching and skill development, suggesting that analyzing Jake Paul's chances is almost meaningless given the gap in experience.
bro, no one in the landscape of boxing since he came around in boxing has done what he's done.
No.
In terms of the magnitude, the followers,
No.
the amount of money he's
And even when you
accumulated.
see his box record, it looks brazy.
It looks good,
As
man.
much
Big
as
him
it's
up, man.
mad,
There to be great. He's
it
doing
looks
his
crazy.
thing, man.
Yeah, like
In fact, yeah. It's funny how you just find your passion in life or your calling.
yeah.
Because it was Deji flew to LA, you know.
It's Deji,
Yeah.
it's Deji, yeah. Deji
That
done
sparked him. That was the catalyst in making this whole thing happen.
It did.
Big up Deji, man.
Big up Deji.
Big up Deji.
Yeah,
He
Deji.
flew to LA.
He deserves some commission for this.
Who was
for
it
his
who threw?
career.
Jake threw the gloves on the floor, innit?
That's
Like,
it,
let's
yeah,
fight
he
now.
threw the- yeah,
Like,
yeah.
let's go now.
That's where it all started.
All started because of him.
2018, bro.
That's what made the Logan and KSI fight happen.
Yeah, because then they now had
Deji
the
flew
super-
to LA.
Now they had the super show of brother v brother.
Yeah.
That's what people are not getting.
Yeah.
That's why it was a big deal. Because you
Yeah.
had two little brothers
Yeah.
and the two big brothers fighting on the same show. Are you mad?
Yeah.
Serious things. And that's why they are where they are. Jake has only continued to do what he said he would do, which is disrupt the game and do the biggest things. And he does find a way to do the biggest things, even if it means fighting the smallest person or the oldest person. He still does what's a big
But I
thing.
think it was that training camp for Gibb. That's when he sort of. That's when it clicked in him or changed him.
Which
really
one?
and truly, Jake.
Oh yeah,
Because Gibb was still thinking he's the old school Jake. No,
Yeah,
my
yeah,
man's
yeah.
grown now. He was in
yeah.
Big Bear.
That was the first camp he switched up, and he said, "I'm gonna
Man
fight
said,
properly." Yeah.
His body's changing. Yeah, done well, man.
So
Done well.
he's done his thing, but I still expect him to be detonated on December the 19th.
course.
But otherwise, boxing's ruined, bro.
Analyst added Oladipo weighs both hype and actual performance when evaluating fighters. He explains that while some people believe Jake Paul could challenge Anthony Joshua, it's important to remember the scale of AJ's power and experience. By fight night, Joshua is expected to be around 255 pounds, carrying devastating power. Oladipo points out that Joshua is far from finished, even after a knockdown from Daniel Dubois. While Jake has shown improvement and looks impressive in training clips, flashy workouts don't guarantee success against a seasoned heavyweight like Joshua, who remains a top-tier fighter when fully focused.
People will randomly come up to me and go, dude, whether it's Jake Paul, Mike Tyson, if it's a big UFC fight, you know, the dude, how about this? How about this? John Jones, Conor McGregor. When the dudes and the ladies at Summer Moon Coffee are like, bud, Anthony Joshua, Jake Paul, what's gonna happen? I'm like, oh shit, this is gonna be a big one. This, because it's hit the masses. When my mom or dad are texting like, hey, is Jake Paul really fighting? I'm like, oh shit, it's on your radar? This is gonna be a big boy. Here's my thoughts. It's well documented. I love Jake Paul. He's such an entrepreneur, such a trailblazer. What he's done is absolutely insane. Even him and his brother Logan, the stuff they do is wild, and their work ethic is inspiring. And I know it might not seem like you guys don't see everything, but they are so brilliant and everything's so calculated, and everything that they touch turns into gold, and they're crushing it. But this is where this journey of Jake's is at a crossroad. This is where there's a fork in the road. Meaning, anybody who thinks that any fight previous to this, that the fights are fixed or pre-choreographed, any of that shit, I get the hate on them. I get your show off on that. None of that is fake. The best example of that, you think Nate Diaz is down to lose to Jake Paul? You think your beloved Jake Diaz, the Stockton gangster, is gonna succumb to money and agree to take a fall against Jake Paul? Or the great Woodley, the multiple-time world champion welterweight UFC, is gonna risk it?
True Geordie focuses on the mental side of the fight, describing Jake Paul as the puppet master and emphasizing the importance of mindset. He explains that for Jake to even appear competitive, strong mental resilience is essential. Any sign of fear or hesitation could be immediately sensed by Anthony Joshua, a predator in the ring, symbolized by his lion tattoo. True Geordie commends Jake for his courage, noting that stepping into the ring with a heavyweight like AJ requires guts, regardless of the financial reward. The analysis highlights how mental readiness can influence performance as much as physical skill.
competition. Throw him in there, may the best man win, and when the dust settles and the two guys...
Dave Allen shares his perspective on the possibility of facing Jake Paul, calling it a surprising scenario despite Joshua's large payday. He reflects on Joshua's career and suggests that this fight might serve as a warm-up before a potential match with Tyson Fury. Allen warns that a loss here could mark the end of Joshua's time at the top level. He emphasizes Joshua's legacy, noting his Olympic gold medal, two-time world championships, and victories over top opponents, while also acknowledging his defeats. Allen ranks Joshua among the best British heavyweights, not far behind legends like Lennox Lewis, and believes that over time, fans will remember him even more for his achievements, grit, and contributions to boxing.
Boxing world may see your future.
The hosts of the Real Exiles podcast discuss how Jake Paul has changed boxing since entering the sport. They highlight his ability to draw massive attention, followers, and money, making him a major figure despite a relatively short career. The hosts credit Deji as the spark that started it all. His trip to Los Angeles set the stage for the Logan Paul vs. KSI fight, now famously known as the Brother vs. Brother Super Show. From that point, Jake consistently delivered on his promise to shake up boxing and create headline-grabbing events. The podcast emphasizes that Jake's impact extends beyond wins and losses, transforming how boxing connects with audiences and continuing to execute ambitious, game-changing moves in the sport.
Like that, you're not going to outbox him. If you're waiting on him and he's initiating and he's feinting you into counters and then he's countering the counter, you're going to lose that fight. Joshua has to impose his size, strength, youth, go to the body. He has to be willing.
Brendan Shaw shares his thoughts on Jake Paul's rise, framing it as both a cultural and sporting phenomenon. He explains that even casual fans and people outside the fight world, like baristas, are buzzing about matchups, including Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul. Shaw notes that when his parents text him about Jake fighting, it shows the fight has reached a mainstream audience. He praises Jake's entrepreneurial skills, work ethic, and the calculated approach he and Logan take, turning opportunities into repeated success. Shaw recognizes Jake's brilliance in creating headlines but also notes that he is now at a critical point in his boxing journey. This moment will determine whether Jake becomes a legitimate figure in combat sports or faces challenges that test his skill and mental toughness. Shaw emphasizes that the upcoming fights will define Jake's credibility and long-term impact in boxing.
Joshua, at his best, on his best night, was a great heavyweight.
That's all for today's video. Stay tuned for more updates. Until next time.